Hello, lovely humans. Welcome back to Sacred Astrology. Makayla here, and this is the Ascendant video for Gemini risings. Okay, welcome back. So, first things first, if you have not watched the What Does the Ascendant Mean video that I put out, it's about 17 minutes long. Please make sure that you watch that video along with this one, as it gives you a baseline and a basic understanding of what the ascendant means through the evolutionary perspective, okay? And then I've been breaking down each ascendant individually, okay, and what your evolutionary intention and journey is in this lifetime. And then with that being said, let's also remember that the ascendant is a constant state of becoming, okay? It's something that you're developing wisdom over the course of your life. You're learning and growing into, as you age, as you become more wise, and just overall as you grow and mature, okay? And this is also a very instinctual response, okay, that we have. It's an instinctual behavior, and we often don't really notice our rising sign, right? Unless we're using the tools of astrology, and then we can pinpoint it. We have a focus of it, right? We're looking for it. But the ascendant is usually how other people perceive us, rather than something that we're super aware of right off the bat, okay? Just because these behaviors tend to be just very instinctual within us, okay? So let's break down Gemini ascendant, okay? Right off the bat, Gemini ascendant is a very intellectual sign. It's a mutable air sign, okay? So you're able to adapt very quickly to your environment. People often probably find you pretty witty, very chatty, a naturally sociable person, somebody who can strike up conversation, who can adapt to your environment, if you will, right? Connect with other people and often find enjoyment through conversations with other people, okay? Or learning new things, right? Exchanging ideas and information can be very stimulating for a Gemini ascendant individual, okay? Also, early life, you might deal with things like, nervousness, right? Or scattered energy, or a feeling of restlessness, okay? And there's certain reasons for that, okay? Part of that might be tied to your past life karma and what you're coming in with. Of course, we'd want to understand your South Node placement, okay? Where the South Node is, the sign that it's in, and the ruler of your South Node. That's going to help you understand deeper into, past life dynamics and early childhood conditioning, what you're coming into adulthood with, okay? And what kind of patterns are showing up here, okay? So in past lives or maybe early childhood, it could have been heavily dependent on you communicating or sharing information, okay? But it might have been about, quantity, right? Doing large amounts of sharing, large amounts of communicating, large amounts of talking or learning, right? Or sharing, but really lacking a depth, right? An ability to do quality stuff, right? More so trying to produce masses and masses amounts, right? But for whatever reason, right? So you come into this life, being um in having an instinctual response to respond to an overstimulation, okay? And what can happen for Gemini risings is that you need that adaptability, right? You need something to feel interesting. You need communication and like stimulation to learn more, to grow more, or else Gemini risings, Gemini placements become quite bored, okay? Become quite bored with what they're learning, what their environment is, and so forth. And so there's this constant need to like gather something more, getting another opinion or getting another idea, having a communication, right? But what ends up happening is the Gemini rising will lack direction, right? So the energy can become too scattered where there's never really a depth, right? There's never really a focus, right? So things don't get finished. Tasks or projects, right? Or things that you set your mind to at one point don't get finished because it's almost like Gemini gets distracted by something else. It's like new or shiny or interesting, right? So the a part of the evolutionary intention for you here is to know that these are mental patterns that are coming in that need to be broken. Okay. They need to be brought into a new direction. Okay. It does not mean I'm saying don't remain curious. Don't follow your interests, right? Don't follow your passions, your interests, or things that spark your curiosity. It's just developing a mental awareness that some of these directions and some of these thoughts that are interest to you, right? Or you find yourself curious about and wanting to learn more, there's a necessary need to actually now put that in a focused direction, and you can go even deeper into that, interest of yours, right? Into that intellectual pursuit that is, stimulating you. Is the thing is if you leave yourself off frazzled, and if you leave yourself off with too many loose ends, right? Or you're letting yourself get distracted in too many ways and never really having a direct focus, these things lead to, anxiety, right? Restlessness, anxiety, broken bonds, if you will, broken connections, and so forth, right? And that leads the Gemini to be their energy to be even more scattered, right? And more displaced, where we want to utilize Gemini's intellectual capabilities and their pursuits and their gifts for making connections and conversation, but really hone in on that and give that a more conscious, integrated approach to life, right? Being very conscious of your awareness of where your mind is going and where it takes you at times, okay? Is sometimes if Gemini lacks the ability to go into the depth of something, right? That can lead to, superficiality in the life, right? And everything is kind of always just coasting on something, and nothing really ends up getting into the core depth, right? Into the emotional connection that connects the mind and the emotional realm together, okay? And we are on this journey, in this holistic journey, right? To bring all of the pieces of what it means to have a human consciousness, right? To bring them all together. And so we're working with all of the archetypes right here. I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand for Gemini risings is like, we look at what you need to integrate onto the seventh house, which is your counterpart for most of you. It's Sagittarius, right? So, you're looking at creating meaningful connections with things that maybe seem out of reach, right? But that's that direction that Sagittarius brings something into that needs to be integrated with you, right? That philosophy, that deepening of knowledge, right? That knowing. You go from thinking and being curious and asking questions to actually knowing something because you stick with it and you make that integrated conscious choice to direct your mind, right? To develop that mental agility and that mental clarity on that direction, on that thing, right? That you're now evolving into and evolving towards. And one of the things I don't think a lot of people actually take into consideration is that in conjunction, which is very important, from Gemini to your eighth house. And for most of you, that's going to be Capricorn on your eighth house. Okay. And that's why the depth can be so hard for Gemini risings to reach, is because your eighth house, which is the initiation of the intimacy with life, right? And the emotional depth and the emotional realms that you have to cross that threshold to get into. That's gated by Capricorn, right? The archetype that represents boundaries, right? Emotional boundaries. And so for whatever reason, I think early life conditioning and also higher life conditioning, there's a need for you to understand, like, why don't I mentally allow myself to get into that depth, right? What kind of boredom would I face, right? For instance, right? What kind of lack of sparkle or luster, right, would I perhaps face or be challenged with if I didn't chase after the new sparkly idea or thought or curiosity, and I just stuck with what I was choosing, the interest that I was choosing to stick to. And that could be a person, right? That can be because Gemini is very flirty, but that could be a person that you're needing to go deeper with, connect deeper with. That could be a career interest, if you will, right? That could just be something of a hobby that just really brings you joy, but then you keep missing the mark, right? You keep missing the mark of going deeper into the experience because for whatever reason, there is a gate, right? But with between you and reaching that emotional depth, right? It's not impossible. It's just a part of your journey to understand that this is the part of the intention, right? Is for Gemini risings to break the pattern when it comes to the way that you think and the way that you use your mind and create a new desire, a new intention out of doing that, right? But it has to have drive and it has to have a little bit of willpower behind that. And it has to have that mental focus, right? And that mental discipline, right? Think about like the archetype of Mars is literally coming in here to, train your mind, right? Train your mind to be an independent thinker, think for your own self, but then also like have the willpower to, to cross those boundaries when they come up for you. Okay. It's very much, many of you are really good at like teaching and writing and communicating and so forth. And you can be very skilled at that, right? Very just natural abilities and natural tendency to get along with people and connect and network and connect the pieces together and so forth. But the real sparkle really becomes when you get to, go into that depth, right? Go on the long haul with something and see a couple of things through. Okay. I do think that there will be many times of adaptability in your life where, the plans will change or the direction will change, right? And so forth for whatever reason. And this is very much like, along the lines of the scenic route astrology, right? The destination for me is always going to be the same, but there might be paths that you take, right, that lead you off this way or that way. And like the route towards your destination, your knowledge or your knowing becomes a scenic journey. Okay. But it's more of an interest for you as a Gemini rising, right, to become very conscious and very aware of being in the present moment. Okay. So that you don't go to that superficial route, right? So that you actually do get the depth that you're able to and the knowing that you're able to. Okay. So like, how do you fix this, right? Like, how do you navigate through something like this when it's something that's instinctual? It's an instinctual response for you to be curious and to get lit up and sparked up by something new and exciting and fresh, right? It's normal for you. It's an instinctual part of you. And so, my best advice are around, how you're evolving, which you'll develop your own techniques. I'm wildly sure you'll probably learn on your own. But one of the things is just being very present, okay? Very present with your mind and the direction that's going in. And you get to catch yourself, right? If you know you need to focus on something and then you can catch yourself, right? If you get, off the beaten path, right? And another thing that I think is really important to understand is that, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not obviously giving any doctor advice or whatever. I have to like cover myself here, but for many of you probably prescribed as being like ADHD or having some type of like mental like disability or lack to concentrate and so forth. And although that might be true that you can't concentrate as easily as maybe other rising signs can, this is a part of you, like this is a part of your evolutionary journey is to embody what it means to be Gemini, right? So the awareness is this. So it's not a deficiency, it's not a mental deficiency or anything. It's actually quite a gift to be able to gather so much and like know so much, like know so many things and be so skilled at multitasking and multifaceted at just knowledge and skills and intelligence and communication and networking and all of these skills that many people actually quite lack, right? These are like gifts for you. Okay, it's just the awareness that like, yeah, is it hard to concentrate sometimes? Yes. Am I learning to focus my energy over the course of my lifetime? Absolutely, right? And I should try to keep this video short for, my Gemini rising. So you not, the next shiny thing that's popping up on the YouTube channel, right? But it's it's just about developing mental discipline over your life, right? And you can relax your mind if you know this, right? You can be aware, be self-aware, be mentally disciplined, right? And know that you're learning to have an ability to focus on something for the long haul, okay? And then once you're able to focus and once you're able to harness something and know something, then you get to share and present your knowledge in the very many skilled ways that you are able to, harness in a very meaningful way, right? Because it's not just about sharing information for like sharing facts or sharing information or sharing opinions or thoughts without any depth or meaning behind it. It's actually becoming very knowing about something and then actually using that information, those gifts you have, in a meaningful and purposeful way, okay? And being able to break the patterns of breaking superficiality from the past, just knowing things, just grazing through something, and actually getting to know something on a deeper level within yourself. Okay. And that is also within your connections with other people, right? Having deeper, more meaningful communications, not just like the basic conversations, but getting to know somebody, communicating somebody on an emotional level, like knowing their fears, knowing their insecurities, right? Taking down some emotional boundaries, getting emotionally vulnerable, and being able to communicate the two worlds in between, right? And exchange the energy through your voice, right? Through your intellectual knowledge, right? And being able to connect on that way on a very deep level with other human beings. Okay. So anyway, Gemini risings, I hope this video helped. If you could please, I know you guys are so great at social media, most of you, give me a like and subscribe. It would help my channel grow. Please feel free to leave me a comment down below. And of course, share this video if you know other Gemini risings that this could help them understand their evolutionary intention, right? Of what it means to be a Gemini rising. It's a beautiful, sparkly, fun, very blessed energy to have. So anyway, I wish you all the best. Okay. And I will be back soon.